Good evening and welcome to this special Island Stat Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Basden. Joining me is the American Boxing Organization's North American Welterweight Champion, Andre Showtime Lamb. Andre, Saturday night, take us through the emotion of just the lead up to Saturday night.
Um, I guess just leading up to the fight, I didn't really get let my emotions get to me too much. I was really just focused on our game plan and just just trying to stay focused, on getting the job done leading up to the fight. So I didn't want to let too much get to me lead on the during the training camp and stuff.
Sure. This
Yeah.
question I have for you: when you're preparing for a fight, your wardrobe, your ensemble, what you're gonna fight in, how do you go through that and what you decide you're going to wear?
Well, the colors were a representation of my coach's school, Bowl High. So the colors were purple and gold. So he had asked, if we could represent his school, which is in Galveston. Because Palant's from Galveston. So I wanted to
Right.
represent his school, but I also wanted to incorporate Bermuda in it as well. So that's why I have the Bermuda triangle in the back, with the Bermuda, the map of Bermuda and stuff like that. So it kind of just came together like that when he
Right.
started off wanting to put those colors.
The one thing I saw you had visited your coach's family and everybody, so it was a bit of excitement, but still had business to do. Um,
Yeah,
doing all of
yeah,
that, doing all of that, and still having to make sure that everything stayed fine tuned for the fight. Uh, how did you manage all of that? Did you hear me? How did you manage that? Like doing
yeah.
all the outside stuff.
Oh, I kind of lost you at the end of that question. You said the family, but then I had lost you.
Yeah, just how did you manage, mingling with the family, but also staying on business of getting into the fight?
um, it's cool because they understand what I gotta do. So they're very respectful of what I gotta do until after the fight. So they know I can't really do too much until like I get the job done. So
Yeah,
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 it's been on both sides. We've both been working.
sure. Let's get into the fight because the first round, you were moving around a lot, using your jab, using just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
nailing him at times, and kind of frustrating him. But were you surprised he kept coming?
No, no, because he's a veteran fighter, and the only people he's lost to ever really undefeated prospects and Olympian fighters. So I wasn't I'm surprised that he kept coming. Um, you know, yeah, it was no surprise at all.
Yeah. What about because he kept changing his stance as well? What? How did you attribute, or how did you in your head work out? How he was going to basically defend and attack that as well.
Um, Luckily for me, like a lot of the fighters I fought coming up, through the amateurs and some in the pros used to switch. So we knew before the fight that he switched. It just depended on like how long he was gonna stay in each position. Um, so it didn't really bother me at all that he switched. We had game plans for each position that he might change to.
Sure. And then in that
Yeah.
second round, you really landed some good shots, and even one that you'll see staggered him.
Yeah, yeah.
At that time, what was your thoughts? Because you really
Um,
landed a good shot.
yeah. I was so focused on just completing the game plan. Um, that I just kept trying to stick to it instead of trying to stray away, and not take too many chances. He is a veteran fighter, so sometimes you do catch these type of guys with shots, and then that kind of turns them into a different type of fighter. So we just wanted to make sure we stuck to the game plan. This is my first. That was my first 8 round fight, and for
Mhm.
me to be fighting a top fighter like that in my first 8 rounder, we didn't want to take too many chances. We wanted to make sure we got the job done and did it in a stylish way.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the low blows, because at one point in time early in the fight, he caught you one and you kind of turned your back looking at the referee as to say, are you going to do
Yeah.
anything about it? Just take us through that, because at times that could be frustrating, but you got to stay guarded.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I the ref did, like, while we were fighting, he did like say a few times, "Oh yeah, that was low" or something. So I know that he noticed that the punches were low. Um, so I was just hoping that, like, he would step in, and I wasn't trying to stop and keep stopping and accidentally possibly get hit by a shot and get knocked out or something because I'm
Hmm.
trying to tell him it's low. I was hoping that the ref would notice, but like after 3 or 4 low blows, I was like, that's when I turned around. I was like, come on, man, you gotta step in and do something about this. Um, and then eventually you saw like the ref just was not doing enough with the low blows, and
You
I don't
took
know.
matters
I
in your
said he
own
got me
hands.
hitting about. Yeah, yeah. I say, you know what? And I remember my coach Rigo saying it to me, right? He said, look, if somebody keeps hitting you low and they're not doing nothing about it, you go right back and hit him low until they fix it. So I said, all right. And it was playing in my head during the fight. It was like Rigo was talking to me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go straight low on him because he keeps doing it to me. And the ref's not doing nothing about it. So, that's what I did, and yeah, I had to do something.
Yeah, and it immediately got the ref's attention, because then he started to
Yeah,
warn him even more, because he
yeah, yeah,
he felt yours. He felt yours for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah, yeah,
it looked like, because you early in the fight looked like you was on your bike. You was making him miss a lot.
yeah,
Just using the ropes to bounce off and do different angles, and you was getting a lot of body shots in, which I
yeah,
figured was bringing his arms down a lot. But he was
yeah,
a warrior, as you say. He's a veteran. His used to, and he just kept coming and coming and coming. That the
yeah,
sixth and seventh round, it looked like you were determined to stand there and take what he could give, and give what you could give. Was that your
yeah.
idea of what you wanted to do?
Well, actually, we changed up the game plan during the fight. So leading up to the fight, our game plan actually was to keep him at distance, keep him at the end of my punches, and anytime he tried to come forward, we would make sure we keep him at that range. But my coach Palan during the fight made the adjustment and told me it was actually in like round 4, I believe. It was either three
Yeah,
or four
yeah,
because I had
something like
been
that.
moving a
Yeah.
lot, and he said to me, "Look, I was fit. We didn't have no problem with me or any idea that I might get tired or nothing. But he said, look, we're gonna save your legs for the later rounds,
Hmm.
and I want you to like stand there a little more with him. They're not expecting that from you. Like they're not expecting you to be like inside fighter, and like I said in the interview before, I don't know if they put it out, but I said, people don't know that I know how to fight on the inside. It's just that I box a lot, so they're not
Right.
used to seeing me fight on the inside. So he said, look, we're gonna stay on the inside for a few rounds, and then we'll get back to using your legs again. But so that's what we did. I think it was like round about 3 or 4 we started to do that, and
Yes.
then we went back to moving again in like round 6, 7, and 8. After we got his respect and took a little bit of his stamina away from him.
Right.
So that was all on the fly. So I'll give all the credit to Palana and my team for making that adjustment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because it was clearly you got his respect, because he started to step back a little more and realize, listen, I can't take two more of these direct blows. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
now obviously the you go into the final round. What's your corner telling you before going out for that final round?
yeah. Yeah, going up to the final round. We knew we were winning. Well, Palan knew we were winning. But we didn't want to take any chances. We wanted to keep fighting with the same intensity we did the whole fight. So, like he said, we were gonna use our legs, but we were gonna try to hit more in the angles and stuff, and try to be a little bit more aggressive, but be smart about it. So that's what we did. We didn't want to take off or like just cruise with it. We wanted to make sure that we still set an example during the fight.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah,
obviously you feel as if you've won it, but it's in the judge's hands a lot of times, and
yeah.
we've seen stranger things happen. But what you see yourself there? What are you saying to yourself? And then obviously you hear the decision.
Yeah. Actually, for me, I wasn't really keeping track of what rounds I had won or lost. Mike Palan said that he already knew that I had won 6 rounds to 2, which is exactly what these judges had it as.
Uh huh.
But for me, I wasn't keeping track of that. I was just keeping track of each round individually. Like after the round was over, I was just making sure to myself, like, did I do enough that round to at least win it or do something substantial? So by the end of the fight, I was just thinking to myself. I wasn't really thinking to myself like, oh, do the judges have it this way or that way? I was just like, I don't really know what to say. I wasn't really thinking about the score too much. I was just like, did I do what I was supposed to do, with the game
Right.
plan and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. What's on the
it's
horizon? Because
kind of
obviously,
tough to say.
yeah, obviously now you got a lot of people's attention outside of Bermuda. We've seen you perform very well in Bermuda, and now kind of Texas and others have seen you perform
Yeah,
outside the country. So what? Obviously, that phone's been ringing in it.
yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
How long? How long before you have to defend this particular title?
We have, I believe, it's 6 months to defend. Like 6 months to officially defend, or something like that.
Right.
Um, but they urge you to defend it before. But it's like if you don't defend it within those 6 months, then you get stripped. So it's not like a lenient thing.
Mm.
But we obviously plan to fight way earlier than that. I plan to have 2 or 3 more fights this year. So that's no problem at
Yeah.
all.
Now you say 8 rounds. Listening to the commentators during the fight, they were very impressed with you and are looking for you to do 10 runs. Can we see that
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
very near future?
Of course, of course. 10 rounds is, I don't know if just for the general public that don't know boxing
Uh-huh.
too much. So 8 rounds is obviously where I'm at now, but 10 rounds is right before you fight for world titles. So
Hmm.
any fighter that's not fighting for a world title fights at 10 rounds, and 10 round fights get you qualified to fight for a world title.
Mm.
Right now, I'm fighting at 8, and so this qualifies me to be able to fight to contend for the 10 rounders, which is
Right.
gonna put me in position to fight for a world title. The only time you fight for a world title, the only time you fight 12 rounds is for a title. If you're not
Right.
fighting for a world title, those fighters fight 10 rounds. So
Okay.
right now we're just trying to. That was my first 8 rounder, and it was against the hardest fighter I'm ever fought in my life.
Right.
So we're gonna get our feet wet at 8 rounds. Just get the rhythm done, get our technique down on how we're gonna fight these rounds, and take another step up. And once we feel comfortable, I don't think we're gonna be too long at the 8 rounders. We're definitely gonna go for 10, and when I was saying about the title contingency is that
Uh,
once we go to 10 rounds, that means we're gonna be making a push to try to go for one of these world titles. So we don't want to take too long, but we don't want to rush it as well, because
yeah.
we want to make sure that we're in a good position to be able to represent as best as we can.
Sure, sure. A lot of people
Yeah,
see you locally, working out, preparing yourself for fights. When people see
yeah.
you, what are you thinking? They're thinking of you going through what you're going through to prepare yourself for fighting.
um, I'm not too sure what people think. That would be a good little Q&A one day if I can ask people. But one thing I do want to say is like I want people to understand like that even though we're in Bermuda, you can still be able to accomplish things. As long as you work hard. Um, you don't always have to fly away and go away and get everything you need out there. You need to work hard here so that when you do go away, that it's worthwhile. You don't want to go away and you haven't been training hard or anything. So I'm always preparing myself for an opportunity. Um, no matter where I'm at. My whole training camp that I hit was in Bermuda. So I
Mm,
don't want to hear any excuses about people saying that they can't make it because the in Bermuda and they don't have this and they don't have that. My whole entire training camp was in Bermuda. I trained with Adrian Roach. We sparred together each week. I was running Bermuda's roads. I was running in run clubs. I was training at Elite Fitness, doing my fitness training down at Nikki Bassam's gym, hitting my bag and stuff there, working with my coach Palan, everything in Bermuda. It was nothing that I did out in Florida, out in Vegas, nowhere. We did it all here, and we still put on an exceptional performance. And that was probably my best performance I'm ever had against
yeah.
a top fighter. So
Yeah, we've seen the struggles that our boxers have in preparing for fights and so forth. The struggles because you still have to do your everyday living, and I'm pretty sure other
yeah,
boxers around the world have to do the same thing, but not to the extent
yeah,
that we struggle at. How
yeah.
can we help? How can we help you alleviate the struggle part so you can fully concentrate on the boxing part to contend for a world title?
Um, I'm not the type. I'm not the type to ask for anything. I'm doing my
Right.
best with what I have. Um, but a lot of these fighters that I'm fighting, do this full time.
Hmm.
I'm not. I never make excuses, so I'm not gonna sit here and say that. Oh, if I was doing this or doing that, I would be even better. But um, I do work a full time job, and I do boxing like with my free time. So I'm out here beating guys. With what I have, so
Right,
I can
right,
only imagine what type of fighter I would be if I can focus 100% full time doing this. Whatever that takes to do that. What would be the key. But I would definitely be able to fight for a world title even quicker, if I had the same sort of funding or facility that these guys have, to be able to do it full time.
right.
But it's a testament to show that, I'm out here working full time and then training early mornings before I go to work and training after work and still beating these guys that are doing this full time. They don't do anything. They just wake up, train, go to sleep, train, go back to sleep. They do 3 times a day, and I'm out
Right.
here, trying to do it when I can, and I'm still beating them. So can you just imagine if I had the same schedule that they had,
Yeah.
where I could get more rest and more time to just focus on one thing,
Right, right.
I would be even greater than I am now. But like I said, I don't try to think of those things while I'm doing this because it is what it is, and I have to do what I have to do. I have to dig deep. So if the opportunity comes, I'll be grateful. But right now I'm just working with what I got.
Sure, sure, sure. So you're back on Wednesday. You hit the ground running. When obviously you're taking just a few days off to
Yeah.
allow your body to heal. But when are you back into training?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna take this week off. I'm very sore. Just
Yeah.
trying to wait for my body to heal, like you said. But I hope to be back training next week. Um, Back to doing my cardio and stuff, and I did watch my fight. I'm very critical of myself.
Hmm.
Everybody's very happy with my performance. My coach is happy. But I beat the guy, but I feel like there's a lot more that I can do. Even that
Hmm.
I feel like that was probably my best performance ever, but I still don't think people have seen my full potential of everything that I can do. So it was a great measuring stick to see how I compete against the type of fighter like that, and with how I beat him. Knowing that I could do more is really satisfying for me, because now I know that I can go back and add more to what I have, and things that I know that I can do. So I'm gonna be even greater next time I get in there, and
Yeah,
next time I step it up, I'll be even more ready. So I'm glad that I got to see that side of me, and I'm glad that he brought that out of me. I wouldn't nobody would have brought that out of me unless I had a proper opponent, and I'm real thankful that I got somebody like that to show that side of me. So
sure.
we're going straight back to work next week.
Okay. Now the good thing is
Yeah.
there's a big fight in Bermuda at the end of the month.
Yeah.
What and you have an opportunity to talk to these guys, because all you guys are really really good friends and so forth. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what are you hoping you've been able to do this time around that they can actually emulate come end of the month?
Well, like I said, me and Roach has been in my training camp the whole time. He's been my main sparring partner. He's been getting a lot of
Hmm.
rounds with me. So and we brought him out here on this trip. So I don't know if you saw
Yes.
any
Yeah,
pictures
I
and
saw.
stuff
I
that
saw. I
he
saw
was.
him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to expose him to what it's like to
Mhm.
be on this stage. Sometimes you sometimes you have to put somebody in a position just to show them that this is reachable, for
Right.
them to strive even harder. So I know that his inspired, and I know that his ready to go put on a show. So just knowing that, like, with that inspiration, he goes and fights with that same passion, like, that I'm gonna be there someday, or I'm gonna do better than Andre someday. So what's that gonna do for Bermuda boxing? I feel like it's going to elevate the sport back home, get guys fighting um, more rambunctious, and making these shows a lot more exciting to see, because everybody's trying to better do better for themselves. So, I think that I'm just hoping that I inspired those guys back home to keep pushing, and make the fights back home even more exciting with good energy.
Sure, sure. Well, I want to thank you very much and let you know that we are all proud of you, and we
Thank
look
you, thank you.
forward to the next time you take that flag into the ring, whether it be on our island or abroad somewhere else. But you
Yeah,
have a lot
yeah.
of support in Bermuda, and we're looking forward to bigger and better things come next time you decide I'm gonna step into this ring, because
Yes,
it takes
yes.
a warrior. We've seen some warriors before you, and you're just continuing a trend. And again, Saturday night, as late as it was something to watch.
Thank you.
So again, congratulations. We
Yes.
look forward to talking to you in person when you're back on the island, and just keep up
Yes,
with your
yes.
your program and your regiment of how you're going to prepare yourself for your next venture. All right.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Well, enjoy the rest of your night, folks. Thanks for joining the ABO North American Welterweight Champion. Showtime. Good
Yes,
night.
sir.